Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Students, today we will discuss a very important topic of community medicine, the part of maternal and child health, that is infant feeding. As in the beginning of this module of community medicine, we already discussed that community medicine focuses on the health and well-being of vulnerable stratas of the community. And infancy is so far the most vulnerable period of one's life, so it is very important that we focus on all aspects of the health of an infant to preserve the health and to ensure proper growth and development in that period. And one of the very significant aspect of infant care is ensuring its optimal feeding practices. The child that has entered the world is new to the world. Initially, it has derived its nutrition through placenta, and now it is the responsibility of the community, the mother, the father, the family, to provide that infant with optimal nutrition so that it can grow and develop well. Now, even God has ensured and it has focused on the optimal infant feeding in the form of provision of breast milk in the child's own mother, which is freely available, which is safe, which is hygienic, which contains antibodies, which provides passive immunization to the infant, to the growing infant, to the new soul that has entered the world, to protect against the invading viruses and bacteria that can hamper child's or infant's health during early life. So for that period, God has provided breast milk in its mother, so that it can grow well, it can be provided to the child without any problem. Now we will be discussing in detail infant feeding. This is very important topic, and both for your social orientation, for your own self, for the communities you will be going there for teaching, for your medical practices, and for the children as well. All right, so let's start with what are we basically divide infant feeding into two parts. One is breastfeeding, and then is, if breastfeed is not available, then artificial feeding is provided. Now this is done we broadly classify infant feeding into two parts. The first is the exclusive breastfeeding part, or the part which does not contain supplemental food. This is first 6 months of life. In these 6 months of life, there can be two choices. One is breastfeeding, or other is artificial feeding. Any feed that is not breastfeed is known as artificial feed. We will discuss in our coming slides that what is artificial feeding. And then is complementary feeding, which is in addition to the breastfeed or the artificial feed, some semi-solids are introduced gradually by the time of 6 months of life, and this process is called weaning, in which the infant is gradually weaned off the breastfeed and is introduced to the family food or the food that is eaten by communities. And this part takes around 6 months. It starts at 6 months and ends at 2 years, when breastfeeding is completely abolished and the child eats the family food. All right, so breastfeeding, you have all read it in detail in your physiology modules. A woman produces 450 to 600 ml per day. Now we have different choices. Exclusive breastfeeding means 4 types of baby feeding can be done. One is exclusive breastfeeding, which is nursing baby indicates desire for 6 months. A child is totally breastfed and is not given anything else, even water. That is exclusive breastfeeding. And then we have continued breastfeeding, that is nursing beyond 6 months till 2 years of life. And then we have mixed breastfeeding, in which A child is given breast milk as well as supplements before 6 months of life. And then we have formula feeding, fed with bottle and receives only formula, cow's milk, or specialty formulas. This is known as formula feeding. All right. So, what are the best benefits of breastfeeding? This is my very favorite topic, and I love teaching this because this is the gift of nature, gift of God to the soul that has arrived in the world. Breastfeed is the breast milk is the best nutrition available to the child, and it is wholesome, and that covers a variety of that holds variety of benefits for the child. We will discuss it one by one. It contains, first and the foremost thing is antibodies. Antibodies are proteins that are important in fighting off the viruses or the bacteria's invasion to the body, and they are the hallmark of your defense system. The child is provided passive immunity through breast milk that helps him survive through the invading viruses and bacteria in the first few months of life. And then living white cells that kill bacteria. It lowers blood pressure and cholesterol. It has adequate protein, fat and fatty acids which are essentially required for growth, and their what you call composition is such that they are highly useful for the body, and they are consumed in a very consumable form. This is very important because a child's intestine may not be able to absorb each and everything that is given to him because of its evolving or growing nature. So whatever nutritious forms of proteins and fats and carbohydrates available through the breast milk are all very much absorbable and have higher ratio of being absorbed and not being wasted. They have bifidus factor. They have lower rates of overweight and obesity. Lactose, vitamins and iron is present. Lactoferrin is present. Lower rates of type 2 diabetes occur. In lipase and amylase, digestion, bonding, intellectual levels, high levels are all the hallmarks of infant feeding, breastfeeding. Now next, health benefits for mothers. Now this breastfeeding is not just helpful for baby, it is also helpful for the mother. It has contraceptive effects, and if a mother feeds her child exclusively, she develops lactational amenorrhea for 6 months, in which menses or periods get stopped and ovulation doesn't occur, and the natural contraception is provided through breastfeeding. It stimulates uterus to contract, hence prevention of secondary postpartum hemorrhage. It is convenient. It reduces risks of breast and ovarian cancer, return to their pre-pregnancy weight faster, low rates of obesity occur. It is available, it is affordable, it is hygienic, it is warm, and you know what, the breast milk is so expensive in Western world that it takes around 1,000 pounds per ounce of the milk through breast milk banks. They are present in the foreign world, and they sell breast milk at a very high cost. So now you can imagine that how God has ensured such a complete, healthy, nutritious, and protective diet for the infant in the form of breast milk, which is freely available, which is without any cost. Now, while discussing issues of breastfeeding, we should know what are the signs of poor attachment. More of the areola is visible below the baby's bottom lip than above the top lip, or the amounts above or below are equal. The baby mouth is not wide open. The baby lower lip points forward or is turned inward. The baby's chin is away from the breast. Now you can see all this is seen in this picture. So you can see that the baby's point, the lower lip is areola is not, most of the areola is outside the body, only lip is in the mouth, chin is away, lip is pointing towards and is inverted rather, or not everted. And good attachment, signs of good attachment are more of the areola is visible above the body's top lip, below and then below the lower lip. The baby's mouth is wide open. The baby's lower lip is curled outward or everted. The baby's chin is touching almost touching the breast. This is good attachment. This slide is very important because mothers come and say that our child is not taking good amount of milk and we are not producing good amount of milk. Then you can see certain signs. If you see certain signs of poor attachment, you can say that the attachment is not good, and you can counsel the mother for proper attachment. You can teach her techniques how to improve the attachment so that suckling can improve and the production will enhance and child will be satisfied. Now the signs that breast milk are produced: the breast feels fuller or firmer, and milk leaks can be expressed. Less supplement is consumed. Stool changes. The infant stool becomes softer, more like those of breast infant. Now lactogogues can help improve the production of milk supply. One more thing is that if the child's diapers are filled, its urination is good, then you can say with full confidence that breast milk is adequately produced. Now lactogogues, domperidone or metoclopramide can be used to enhance breast milk production. Now, what are acceptable medical reasons for the use of breast milk? For mothers, HIV, herpes, simplex virus, HSV1, anti-epileptic drugs use, topical iodine, cytotoxic drugs, etc. Are the reasons that mothers should avoid breastfeeding and can go for artificial feeding. And infant conditions are galactosemia, maple syrup urine disease, phenylketonuria, weight less than 1.5 kgs or less than 32 weeks of age. In these conditions, one can resort towards artificial feeding. Now for artificial feeding, there are multiple choices available. One can go for dried milk or one can go for humanization of cow milk. Now what is meant by the concept of humanization of cow milk is that cow milk can be given to the child, to the infant, but the fact remains that cow milk is not equivalent to the nutritious status of the breast milk. So certain changes has to be done in order to improve or to make it near to the breast milk. However, it doesn't equalize to the what you call nutritional level of breast milk, but still it comes closer. Now when you humanize cow's milk, you need to dilute it because it contains more protein, and that protein is not digestible by human infant, so you need to dilute it. Once you diluted the fat that is required by the human infant decreases in the cow's milk, so you had to add some milk fat to it. And then carbohydrates are also diluted, so you need to add milk sugar to the milk. So if you take 1 part of human milk, you should add 2 parts of boiled cool water to it, so that proteins get diluted. And then you should add to it 1 pint of milk sugar, and 1 pint of milk fat to it, so that protein content get reduced, and carbohydrates and fat contents are restored by addition to it. Now, complementary feeding is extremely essential form from 6 months of age, while continuing breastfeeding to meet the needs of growing baby. As we know, breast milk is an excellent food and meets all nutritional requirements of the baby for the first 6 months. In order to achieve optimal growth and development, there is an increased demand for a regular supply of maternal raw material in the form of better nutrition. The purpose of complementary feeding is to complement the breast milk and make certain that young child continues to have enough energy, protein and other nutrients to grow normally. Appropriate feeding styles can provide significant learning opportunities through responsive caregiver interaction, enhancing brain development in the most crucial first 3 years. Now, complementary food should be fed when the infant is hungry. Fruits can be given, but in the mashed form. Infants can be given reconstituted instant infant foods at this age. For traditional foods, once the child is eating the cereal porridge, mixed foods include cooked cereal, pulses, vegetables can be given to the child, such as khichdi, dalia, suji, kheer, upma, idli, dhokla, bhat, bhaji, etc. Sometimes a little modification is made to make the food more suitable for the child, like mashed idli with a little oil and sugar is a good complementary food for the infant. Now, khichdi can be made more nutritious by adding 1 or more vegetable in it while cooking. Infant needs all foods from 6 months, namely cereal, pulses, vegetables, particularly green leafy vegetables, fruits, milk and milk products like egg, meat, fish, if non-vegetarian, oil, ghee, sugar, iodized salt in addition to the breastfeeding. Diversified diet of the infant along with breastfeeding will improve micronutrient status of the child. Now, low energy density of complementary food given to the younger children and lower frequency of feeding result in inadequate calorie intake and thus the malnutrition. Most of the baby's food are bulky and a child cannot eat more at a time. Hence, it is important to give small energy dense feeds at frequent interval to the child with a view to ensure adequate energy intake by child. And now, how can you make them energy dense? You can make them energy dense by the addition of sugars and fats to it. Now, it is very important that how you feed a child during and after illness. During weaning period, younger children often suffer from infections like diarrhea, measles, cold, cough, etc. If their diet had been adequate, their symptoms are usually less severe than those in an undernourished child. Appropriate feeding during and after illness is important to avoid weight loss and other nutrient deficiencies. The cycle of infection and malnutrition can be broken if appropriate feeding of the infant is ensured. Weighing the child regularly and plotting the weight on the health card is an important tool to monitor growth of the baby. Infant and young children should be weighed every month in the presence of their mothers, and the growth status of the children should be explained to the mother. The growth chart is kept in plastic jacket and could be entrusted to the mother. For malnourished infants, infants and young children who are malnourished are most often found in environments where improving the quality and quantity of food intake is particularly problematic. To prevent a recurrence and to overcome the effects of chronic malnutrition, these children need extra attention both during malnutrition phase and over the longer period. Frequent breastfeeding, relactation are the important preventive steps since malnutrition has its origin in inadequate or disruptive breastfeeding. Relactation should be ensured. Plus, mothers of malnourished children should be invited to a camp. और यहाँ पे infant and young feeding centers हैं और malnutrition management centers हैं. हमारे यहाँ म्यो हॉस्पिटल में भी जो है वो है, गंगाराम हॉस्पिटल में भी है, where a children is initially what you call classified into severe acute malnutrition or moderate acute malnutrition डिपेंडिंग अपॉन इट्स मिड अपर आर्म सर्कमफ्रेंस. उस बेस के ऊपर जो है वो हम इसको इंश्योर करते हैं, पहले वो करते हैं. अगर लेस देन बिटवीन 12.5 to 11.5 है तो वो मॉडरेट एक्यूट malnutrition है, और अगर लेस देन 11.5 है तो वो सिवियर एक्यूट malnutrition है, और उसके मुताबिक हम उसको रिहेबिलिटेट करते हैं. और क्योंकि विशियस साइकिल होता है, malnourished children gets infection and infection leads to malnourishment. लिहाजा malnourishment doesn't usually come alone, it comes with some form of complication like that of infection. So you have to concomitantly treat infection as well as malnutrition. I wish हम आपको वहाँ का विज़िट करा सकते हैं. It is a very important place. मगर क्योंकि आजकल कंडीशंस ऐसी हैं कि हम आपको विज़िट नहीं करवा पाएंगे. अच्छा, तो मदर्स ऑफ द मैन हम उनको कैंप में बुलाएं. चिल्ड्रन शुड बी फॉलोड एवरी फोर्टनाइट फॉर ग्रोथ एंड मॉनिटरिंग, हेल्थ चेक एंड सप्लाई ऑफ इंस्टेंट फूड राशन फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 3 months. एंड व्हेन malnourished children improve with appropriate feeding, they themselves would become educational tool for others. Now, preterm or low birth weight infants, breast milk is particularly important for preterm infants and babies with low birth weight, newborn with less than 2.5 kg weight, as we discussed in our last lecture, as they are at increased level of infection, long-term ill health and death. Now, unique composition of preterm milk with its high concentration of protective substances makes it particularly suited for preterm babies. Preterm babies should be fed every 2 hours during day and night, and preterm or low birth weight babies to be kept warm. Now, this again is a very important aspect, that feeding during emergencies. Infants and young children are usually vulnerable to get malnourished during emergencies like wars, like immigration, migration, floods, and earthquakes, etc., when there is internally displaced population systems. So we should focus on the basic, that is breastfeeding, and we should ensure that breastfeeding is continued. Rather, we should make provision that certain camps are allocated just for breastfeeding mothers, where mothers can come freely over there and breastfeed their child. Although breastfeeding is safest and the only reliable choice for young infants, one is likely to overlook the basics like breastfeeding for those who need it most and rapid response that is needed to provide relief during emergencies. Alright, now we start with our growth chart. Before that, I would like to summarize what we have talked about. Let me what we have talked so far about artificial feeding. Now, principles of artificial feeding, we are summarizing it. Infant require an average of 100 kilocalories of energy per kg of the food weight per day, about 150 ml of milk per kg of the body weight each day. The estimated protein requirement is about 2 grams per kg of the body weight during the first 6 months, and it declines to about 1.5 grams per kg by the end of 1 year. This works out to be 13 to 14 grams proteins daily during the first year of life. In terms of calories, 8 to 10% of the calories are given as protein. Now, the carbohydrates requirement is about 10 grams per kg of the body weight daily, and after 4 months of age, undiluted boiled cooled milk should be given. Infant needs feeding of frequent intervals, about 6 to 8 times a day. Older babies 5 times a day. During illness, for example fevers, the calorie need is increased and it should be met. Alright. Now we will start with growth monitoring. In my last lecture, I gave you the demonstration of growth chart. Now, why it is important? Its primary aim is to identify children with growth deviation, undernutrition, and overnutrition, to identify diseases and conditions that manifest through abnormal growth. Secondary aims is to discuss health promotion related to the feeding, hygiene, immunization, and other aspects of the child's health and behavior, and sensitize to use growth charts. Ultimately, the aim of growth monitoring is to minimize illness and avoid unnecessary child mortality. Now, growth monitoring comprises package of activities. One is regular anthropometry of the children, plotting the information on growth chart to make pattern of growth visible. If growth is abnormal, usually flattening, appropriate measures in concert with the mother. As a result of these actions, the child nutrition improves, the child receives appropriate social or medical support, or doctors are able to diagnose early serious diseases. Steps in growth monitoring. Growth monitoring involves 5 steps. One is determining correct age of the child. Second is accurate weighing of the child. Third is plotting the weight accurately on the growth chart of the of appropriate gender. Interpreting the direction of growth curve and recognition of the child in growing properly. And then discussing the child's growth and follow-up action needed with the mother. Now, growth charts are visible display of children's physical growth and development, also called Road to Health chart. It was first designed by David Morley for growth assessment and was later modified for WHO. I have already shown you a growth chart. Now I will briefly revise it. On this axis, or the x-axis, we take age in months. This is first, second month, 3 months, 4 months, 5th month, and then 1 year, and then up to 5 months, 5 years, the age is plotted here, and the weight in kgs is plotted on the x-axis. Now the green part is between +2 standard deviations to the -2 standard deviation, or third percentile to the 97th percentile of average weight. Now, if the child's weight is plotted like this, for example, at birth his weight is 3.5 kgs, it will be dotted here. On the first month, the child weight is, for example, 4 kgs, it is dotted here. And when the dots are joined, there is a continuous line that will show the growth of the child. If it is within this green part, which is between +2 deviations to -2 standard deviations, it is in the normal reference in terms of growth and weight gain. And if it is in yellow part, that is between -2 to -3, it is moderately acute malnutrition. And if it is below -3, it is severe malnutrition. So the first indication that a child is not gaining weight is the flattening of the curve. The curve should be moving upward, but if in what you call subsequent months the child weight doesn't increase, it will first of all flatten. For example, it measured to be 7 kgs at 6 months, and at 7 months again it is again 7 kg. It means that it has not grown and the child curve seems to flatten. Now flattening is the first indication before it goes down, and it should make the mother and the caregiver alarmed that why the child has not gained weight. Now the gaining of weight is stopped at 6 months, means that the weaning has not been appropriately started, or the child has gotten some sort of infections, diarrheas or pneumonias, etc., etc. Because in any acute disease the weight gain is halted. During the time of weaning, the most common reason for flattening of the curve is inappropriate weaning practices. So the mother needs to be counseled for that. And for whole of the 5 years, the child is being kept under watch for malnutrition through this growth chart. This is one beautiful strategy for reducing child and infant morbidity and mortality. And alongside that, in the growth charts that I had shown you in the last demonstration, there is a section for what you call injectables. There is information. So every vaccination, the child vaccination schedule is printed on that, and according to what the child has been vaccinated, those vaccination section is also used, and the vaccinations which are being completed are being ticked over there. They have been वहाँ पे उनको आइडेंटिफाई कर दिया जाता है, उनको टिक लगा दिया जाता है ताकि पता रहे कि ये सारी वैक्सीनेशंस बच्चे की हो चुकी हैं. So with this we end with infant child feeding, and from next lecture onwards we will start with demography. I wish you all a very happy and spiritual Ramzan, followed by a very happy Eid, and with a prayer that you all may stay protected from this deadly pandemic, that is COVID-19. You should stay safe, inshallah. We will be meeting as soon as the lockdown ends and we resume our regular traditional way of teaching. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.